Hello and welcome back to part 2 of my ripping tutorial series. This time we will be using the car toolkit, which is also provided on my site. This is version 1.0. I believe it is being constantly updated, so there will be newer versions, but for now this is perfectly fine. So let's get straight to it. I will, for demonstration, just take Underground 2. We will be working on 350Z Nissan. So yeah, let's get it. The cars are found here in cars folder, and we will open up geometry. So that is our car. As you can see, it comes with pretty much all the customization options. If we were to go for a wide body kit, then we have to actually hide the other stock body parts. Like you can see, the fenders are wider on this one. I believe the doors are also different, and the bumpers, so we would be hiding those up here. If we search for, let's say, body, yep, you can see it's changing. Then bumper, yep, and so on. So you would have only the body kit and all the parts that fit. Then you go to file, actually no, geometry, export as wavefront and checked. So this would be also only exporting the checked pieces, which are here marked. Otherwise you would get all the parts, and that would be a big mess. If I'm working with toolkit, I do it like this, just the checked. Then also you rip the textures. So this takes literally just a couple of seconds. I have my files already prepared here in my archive. So we will be opening up a unedited body, and I will open up also already processed version and I will have it on my left screen, so you guys can only see my right screen, for which is being recorded, but I have two, so I can work more effective. And I actually recommend, if you're really serious about this, that you get another one, so you can boost your progress. So there you see the seams I mentioned. We'll cover it, no worries. But for example, now I can select every piece just pressing the L button, which will be selecting the whole linked object. So this comes really handy once we are joining and separating pieces. So yeah, but we will be working on the unedited version, which is here, and I have to enable again the script from before. For some reason it's not being saved, but yeah, it just takes a couple of seconds. Let me just find it real quick. 1 second. There you go. There you go. Good. So as you can see, unlike Ninja Ripper, the car toolkit actually names the parts according, like we saw back there when the software was running. So for example, base, then you have hood, so everything is named correct, but we still don't have a seam around. Like the seam would be a red line around every body panel or pieces. I also prefer to separate the parts even further, so when I'm modifying stuff I have an easier time, and then I can really be productive. And like I mentioned, the sharp lines are blue. These Those are usually messed up with Car Toolkit. Sometimes really bad, sometimes a little bit less. And what is also annoying, for example, is left and right side is usually not the same when it comes to sharp lines. If you look at this, for example, then we go to the other side, you can notice it's not the same. So when you're editing, you have to do it both sides, or you could just fix one side, delete the other one, and then just mirror it to the other side, and you have the same sharp lines on both ends, which is probably the better way of doing things. Otherwise you can end up with some strange results. But yeah, so now we will be putting a seam around body parts and then just joining and separating them again, so you can see why we are doing it. Otherwise it would be a waste of time if you would just do it and then not know what to use it for. So I will be looking on my left screen how the lines should be, because right now I'm not super sure. You know, I will have to look in the game and at pictures to get the lines correct. We can also use a shortcut, which is Madcap. This is a shading thing which helps you when you are, for example, modeling and you want to see the lines, how the reflections work, and if there is some ugly shading, you will notice that you made some mistake somewhere. Some people use it, some don't. I prefer it, and I will just set it to this gray shade. I like it pretty much. Or nah, it's not good, not in this case. Alright, so let's go to the hood, back to the local view, and also left screen. There you go. One moment. Good. So this has to disappear. Oh, as you can see, I'm not clicking down here. If I want to select vertex, edge or face mode, I have it as a shortcut. As you can see, 1, 2, 3, and it just switches. This is a must-have for productivity. I think it's also on my Discord. If it's not, I will make like a half-minute video on how to change these settings. Actually, yeah, I will make a video because we need quick origin add-on, which is also not standard. Then quick or actually auto mirror, which is this, and this one, the rebinded add-on. So these are 3 must-haves. So I will also make a super short video on that. So now we want to, for example, delete this sharp line. So we press Ctrl E and here clear sharp. As you can see, the line is gone. That's how it's supposed to look. Then also notice one here. This looks fine. And the rest of the hood, I believe, is good. Yep. Now we will put a seam around everything. So we go to edge select mode. Yeah, I use Shift Alt. Usually you just press it once and it will go around the whole part. Otherwise you just have to press more edges like this and that, and there you go. It just depends on the part. Again, Ctrl E and mark seam. Now we can see that the edge around the piece is red, but if we would have to have a sharp line around this, which we will now do, then it disappears because sharp is dominant over the seam, but either way the seam is still there. We didn't delete it, so when we will be separating and joining again, the seam is still there, so don't get confused. It's just more dominant, the sharp line. One thing I notice with Toolkit is, for example, the headlights and taillights, and also, yeah, the interior. Those three things are a bit messed up. Actually, I believe it's the correct way when you're looking it from the game perspective, but for us it has to be a little bit different. For example, the glass has to be separated. It is a separate object for us. So we will join together these two headlights, go into local view, and now we have to separate the glass. I prefer to use face mode, then I press C. This is also a way of selecting well, parts. I'm not going to go to wireframe mode, which is pretty much see-through mode. That way I can let's show it. So now we have wireframe mode. You can see through stuff. If you need to select everything, let's say the whole car, let's do it. No, it's not joined. Fuck, my bad. So if the car was joined together, like the car would be in these dimensions, and we need to just select half of the car and then delete the other side and copy paste, actually mirror one side to the other side, so we have a completely identical car on both ends. And then we would have to first go like this, for example, that you're looking from the front. As you notice, I pressed the 5 on numpad. This is perspective and orthographic view. So for this, if it has to line up perfectly, you have to be in orthographic. Then you have these 3 positions, and you can also play around with them. Depends on what you need. As you can see, pretty useful. And number 9 on the numpad is 180 degrees rotation. Also super useful. But you can get confused, so if you get confused, you have to actually get out of it and again. So if we are in wireframe mode, see-through mode pretty much, you will be selecting everything. As you can see, everything is selected. But if we are not in wireframe mode, if you select it from the front, you just selected what's in the front, pretty much the faces. So in this case there is also faces behind the glass, and we want to separate this. This would be the headlight glass. So you just press G so you can see what you grabbed. Now we are separating it with P and selection. You also have these other 2 options, but selection for us works. Now, as you can see, we did separate it. Now you just have to make sure that you really just selected the glass, because it really happens a lot that you selected more than you wanted, but in our case we did it the correct way. So now we will just do it the same on the other side. And you can also zoom with mouse wheel the selection. Then there is also like I said, the B mode, and there is one more. If you hold Control and left mouse click and hold it, like it's pretty much a lasso. You can also do it like this, and if you were to hold Control Shift and left mouse click and hold it, then you can also deselect it. It's the same thing if you use C. For example, now we are selecting, press C again, hold Shift, and then you are deselecting the faces you need. I always work like this. Whatever I'm doing, this is my way of doing things when I'm separating stuff. Now let's just check this one as well. Looks right. Yep. So now we have 2 separate glasses because I didn't do them at the same time. So now we did join them together and this looks right. The only thing that is most probably messed up is the sharp lines again, because Toolkit, but that can be fixed later. It's not important right now. and something is a little bit strange here. Let me check on the other screen. Something is not right, I believe. Yeah, something isn't right. This I would put away from the glass usually, just in this example of Nissan 350Z, but I'm not gonna do it now because we are filming, but otherwise this is not part of the glass section. Now let's take a look at our front bumper, which is absolutely fucked up, of course. Sharp lines. Let me quickly fix them. This is wrong, for example. Then there should be more. Yep, this. Just checking, because there should be more wrong with it. At least usually that is the case. I'm also checking on my left screen, you know, so just give me a moment. This should do for now, but you can always come back to it later once you have the whole car. You will have an easier time deciding what needs to be a sharp line, what not. I also usually go back into the game, run it in windowed mode. That also needs to be set up, otherwise you can only run games in full screen mode. I believe that is also on my Discord. Let me check. Pretty sure it is. Yeah, there you go. This is it. The video to it. Otherwise you can't run in windowed mode. If you have two screens, then you can do the magic. Now we have to put a seam around everything again. There you go. Mark seam. And I will be also separating these. Pretty much this and that. Usually it would work with the linked function. Right now it's not, so we have to select the pieces and we will separate them, mark a seam and join them back. So the next time we are doing something like this, we will not have to do it like this, but we will just press the L button and you have it, everything selected. So for example, when I'm remastering body parts, adding detail, improving stuff, this is the way to do it. Otherwise you will have many problems and most probably you will not join it back together like it was, because it just gets way too confusing. So here we separated it. Now you can see that is a separate part. And now I will just put a sharp line around this. Now we need a seam. So in this case, like I mentioned before, sharp is more dominant than seam, so we can see only the blue line, but there is still a red line underneath that, which I will also show. But you just have to keep that in your back head that you already have a seam. But if you actually forget it, you can put also one more seam. It's not like there will be two seams, it's just one seam, so you can do it 10 times like this and you will also just have one seam. And then you just need to do it once if you want to, let's say, remove it. So now we are removing the sharp line, and as you can see, there is still the seam. So like I said, it will stay there. Now we are joining it back, and we have to remove doubles, because there will be some doubles. If you would be checking around here, like edges, faces, when you remove doubles, see 24 removed. You always have to remove doubles and recalculate normals. If you are joining and separating stuff, that's just the way it is. Not gonna go into detail why we have to do it, but just do it. Now, for example, we can select the part. Like before we could not, it would just select the whole bumper, but now, as you can see, we are able to select this, and the rest of the bumper is one separate piece. And we have the badge. We still have to process that one. This is actually a separate piece, but I will just still do the seam part, because it will be separated later on. This would be badging like that, and here this would be a Z, and in the back like this would be Nissan, and somewhere around here would be 350, yeah, 350Z. Those would be all badging. Next up, we will be separating the glass. So you notice I'm also always using the local view, because it just works for me. If it doesn't work for you, that's fine, but I always work like this. So first I will remove the wipers for now, so I have an easier time selecting the glass. Usually take your time, you know, you want to do it good the first attempt, or sometimes you have to do it again if you notice that you messed up somewhere, but yeah, take your time. You can always grab it and move it around to see if what you selected, because sometimes something would be in the background. You will be selecting the front faces, like you can see, unless you are in the wireframe mode. That would be Z button, but you never know. It's a big part. You see, this for example is a little bit confusing if you zoom in really close, but right now this looks right, so we will separate separate it. I hope I still separated it. Yep. And I, for example, remember from before that this is a little bit different in some titles. Like the more modern it gets, the more parts it has. For example, this right now looks right. I'm also checking on the other screen, but then there is more pieces. Like this would be definitely glass. Then there is pieces like this. Yeah, there you go. This would be like tinted black. It's a black texture in later on, but sometimes it's joined together, so you have to separate this from the actual glass, mark a seam around it, so you can, when you're texturing, you can select just this or just that. So this wouldn't be textured, this would be, then this is also another part, so we will be separating these. But first let's take care of the glass. Yeah, this is also with Toolkit. The doors have glass included, and dimensions, sharp lines are pretty fucked. So we have to do that. Just checking the other screen, one moment. But like, I won't really go for perfection and fix every sharp line and everything, because it's a question of time and fine-tuning, and we don't have the time right now, but roughly you will get the idea how to do it. So always zoom in, scroll around, give it a 360 view, stay in local view mode so you can see that you selected what you needed, separate it, As you can see, I always prefer to join the same two pieces into one group. It's just more effective for me. Like otherwise you would be here in this example doing first one headlight and then the other one. Well, it's up to you, but I prefer to do it in pairs pretty much. Now we are joining these two together and selecting one more. This I hold shift for this, then control J. Now there is 3 of them. Checking the back, so the boot is the same case, but this one is a little could be a little bit more tricky because it's the same case here. For example, glass, then there is a black piece, and this would be metal already if you follow the sharp lines. I will check my other screen so I don't mess it up. One moment. For example, if right now we are working on Need for Speed Carbon, if it was Underground 1 or Underground 2, this area, pretty much this, would be different. Underground doesn't have the same amount of detail in this area, so let's say this would not be presented, but it would be a bigger piece. But if you would go from Underground 2 to Pro Street, that would be really noticeable, and then when you're looking at a lower poly model, sometimes you just need a little bit time to figure out what goes where. But here it's still pretty good, so we can do it pretty easily. I'm always working with this C button for selecting stuff. As you can see, this circle, it just works for me. It might not work for everybody, but it's my favorite. So this will be now the glass again. I forgot to remove the Viper, as you can see, a little bit annoying, but it will do for now. 1 second. Yeah, it's really annoying. I forgot about that one. So you can play around with the zoom, otherwise, you know, difficult to do. You can also hide parts. I will just press H. There you go, it's hidden. Now this is also separate part. Now let me see if I did it correct, because I think something isn't quite right. Yeah, we need this there, and this will be, this is now the actual glass. I'm gonna remove the sharp lines for now, then remove doubles, see, because there was a line pretty much around here. Let's say it was like this around here, and that would be the vertices, the 18 or whatever vertices we just deleted, or edges, those were there. Now you can see in this example, when we want to select the edge, everything is selected. Mark a seam, and that's it. We'll do the same for the boot. Not gonna bother fixing up every sharp edge, because we will not have time for everything, otherwise the video will be too long. So now let's take a look at the taillights. These are actually not just a texture, those are 3D, as you can see. Otherwise it would be just flat, like a glass right here. So we will just select the glass part. It's most effective if you do it from this angle, otherwise you will have trouble. Yeah, that worked. Joining those two together, checking. Looks right. This will be joined to glass for now. It will stay that way most probably, unless the tail light glass is tinted. I think in the case of 350Z it is tinted, otherwise it is not. Depends on the car. Let's say Mazda RX-8, this glass is see-through, but here it's red tint, I believe. Yeah, just joining together all the glass pieces, now hiding them just for now. Yeah, and we forgot about this one. Has to be joined, and now we will put a seam around everything. We didn't fix the headlight glass, we are not gonna do, but otherwise it will be a little bit different. Mark a seam and glass is done. Now all you have to do just for now is rename it. You can, it's up to you usually, otherwise if you're working for somebody or with somebody you agree to a name. If they are gonna do a car mod for another game, then it has to be named a specific way, but for now it will be like this. For example, 350Z, kit 00 and head. We're using the short terms, not like headlights and so on, but just head. For example, front bumper would be just 350Z, kit 00 and FB. Let's do that one too. Actually, and it's best if you just do it like this. Not small, but big text. Not gonna bother fixing up the sharp lines again. As you can see here, you have to click multiple times to select the whole part, but that's just the way it is in this example. See, we can also put one right here, even though the other piece already was assigned, but you can also do it. It will be then for sure. Then joining together. And edit mode, remove doubles. You could also recalculate the normals. Yeah, one more thing about the normals itself. For example, this looks right. For example, shading wise, when it's in this color and we're looking from the front, the faces are facing us the correct way. That's why they are this color. For example, you see this dark. These are the normals from the back side, but sometimes normals get messed up when you are recalculating them or editing stuff. They will be dark shaded. So for this case I will just flip them by hand, so it would look like this if they were wrong. So you could just select those by hand and flip them or recalculate. Sometimes if you recalculate it still doesn't fix the issue and you have to flip them, but almost always it's just select everything, recalculate, and it's like it's supposed to be. We're gonna assign seam around the doors, because doors will be joined to the body later on. But if you would have to separate them at some point and modify something, then you would have a hard time. For example, when this is all body, you have to certainly look at that image or another model, so you know exactly what to select. In this case it's not difficult, but if it was a high poly model or a body kit or a difficult shape, you would really want to have a seam around everything. So here we would be still assigning a seam around every body part, but since this would take a little bit long, I will now show you the other model that is already prepared. So if you have a look around here, we have brakes, and I will use the local view so it's easier to see. So there we have brakes, glass. See, I mentioned headlights. We would have to split that area that was around. This is actually how it's supposed to be for this car. Interior also seen. Sharp lamps, I see I didn't quite fix, but then again I didn't work on the interior. I will put Pro Street, Pro Street interior into this and snap it to places once I'm working on this car, but that will not be anytime soon. There you go. Now we have the body. See, these are all assigned seams. Right now it might look a little bit messy, and if you are looking at the sharp lines, but if you look at it as the whole picture, this line has to be sharp, especially if we now use Madcap. For this example, Madcap is just golden, and yeah, gold shader, because why not? But it really helps if you're looking at lines. For example, here you can see this is a different color than that, and it also looks like this is flat and this is round, which is also the case in the model, but yeah, flat, round. If we were to remove the sharp line right here, then you will notice that now everything is smooth. Well, sure, if you look at it, it's still, this part is flat, but here it's more of a smooth transition. That's the whole point of sharp lines, to actually present it the way you want. But you, in Blender, at least I don't know a way how to make lines certainly sharp. For example, just halfway or a quarter, it's either smooth or sharp when we are doing it like this, but it works. So back to the body panels. Now let's say I need to select the fender and modify it, add detail around here. This isn't all that round altogether, so I would subdivide this into pieces, make it more round. Actually, I will do it now, so I don't have to do a separate video on this. There will be a video me working on a Civic, adding detail, but that will be coming later. So we want to select this fender. As you can see, I just press the L button. Yes, I have to run the script. Sorry, 1 second. The other car was a different file, that's why. There you go. So we are selecting this part. Let's say we need the door. We can also do the door. Another piece. This is also another separate piece. As you can see, if you want to select something and then edit it or rejoin, you can do it like this, perfectly fine. Otherwise, if I would be just pressing L once, everything, it would be like this, everything would be selected. So let's say I need to separate just the doors. I can do so freely, pretty much. Select both, separate. See, now I just have the doors. Now I will rejoin them, select everything, remove doubles, and I should still be able to select what I want, which was separated before and assigned with the seam. That's why this is so important. So as you can see, everything is put into groups. And named accordingly. Some parts will arrive in the center of the car, like license plate, the wheels, brakes, spoilers sometimes. Those you will have to place yourself then later on, like the wheels. There was just one. I grabbed it, moved it here, then to this place. Also in combination with the brake, I usually separate the wheel and tire into two pieces so I can select them later on. Actually I did it here, but yeah, sharp line, it's not showing the seam. But then I will shift T so I can copy this. I will drag it to the other side and join them together. Then we would be just selecting those two and mirror to the other side, but we can also do it now. Why not? So we will try to select everything there. Now I'm using the wireframe mode, otherwise it would take longer. Now we have just one wheel here, that's the other object. We can delete that. So yeah, this is it. Now we are going to orthographic, shift D, grab, and X-axis. We will drag it there. And then it's a question of fine-tuning until it looks right, the height, the positioning. And then you look at all perspectives. I would also add thickness to the wheel. This looks way too skinny for such a car, but for now it's fine because we are just playing demonstration. Now here is the quick mirror add-on, which I will present right away in the next video. Those three add-ons that you really want to use. So here it is. Here we will go Shift C, so the cursor is dead in the center. When we are mirroring over it, it has to be in the center, and the part has to be selected. So I'm not sure right now which axis I have to use. In this case it was the correct one, so let's do it again. Z-axis and positive. But if it's not, let's say I had X, it would do it wrong. See, like this. So you just press X here, go to object mode and Control Z. Pretty much you do it like this always when something didn't go right when you were using the quick mirror. So here again it wasn't correct. We, for example, now know that we need Z-axis, but usually if you're not super sure, you just experiment. You also have to play with negative or positive. It really depends where the part is. But here we got it right, let's say now. So you just go back to object mode, apply, and there you have your wheels. So this would be it for the car itself. Now it's fully prepared for either modifying or next on, if you would want to texture it. You would still have to put materials to it. Like I will show the Civic, which community-minded miner has prepared. That car already has all the materials, and it is also textured but if you're swapping files with another person, then you usually run into issues related to texture not showing up, or it's pink. That's also an issue. But yeah, so for example, this would be, 1 second, nope, not really. Yeah, so I got this exact car from Community Minded Miner, which was already improved Civic. The stock Civic would be, yeah, this. So this is the car from Underground 2. As you can see, pretty shitty, really. Like, ignore the sharp lines, those have to be fixed, of course, but detail wise, the car really is from 2003. Also the textures are crap, but you can also fix that. So then he took the time and improved. It's already quite some improvement, especially in areas that matter. But as you can see, the headlight definitely needs attention. The fenders are also not round enough. I will also do those. Pretty much everywhere the car still could use some improvement. So I did take the time, and like I mentioned, Pro Street interior. Basically it came like this, but then I had to scale it and snap every fucking vertex to the body itself until it was right. So that was quite a bit of work, but it looks like it's supposed to look. The headlights itself were a nightmare, but yeah, at least they are now where they're supposed to be. So Underground 2, then this was, no, actually Underground 1. This is Underground 1 and improved. If we look, if you pay attention around this area, for example, this was all subdivided and rounded up. Here you could also see, right, this here pretty much around those areas is also added detail, but for example this Pro Street part is also subdivided by 2, so everything is improved by ×2 or even more. For example, this would be the Civic hatchback from Pro Street, so I use this headlight. All in all, it's much better than still my Underground 1 and improved headlight, but this is still way superior to that, so I used this. But I then spent quite some love and time on it. As you can see, it's really round, and that's the way it should be in the end. And now let's just have a quick look at the fender. Also improved, so this is already good enough. Like we still could use the technology from Pro Street, like the panel gap technology, right? This, you know, in all the Need for Speed titles, it's pretty much just a flat plane. These right here are actually custom made by me. Those will be a black texture, but best case would be if it was the same case as Pro Street, but I have to take some time, learn that shit, and make it like it's supposed to be, and that will be somewhere in the future pretty much. But yeah, now if we take a look at my wide body Civic, which is still not finished because I didn't have time, you will notice that, for example, the front end got treatment right here at the fender. Still not finished, as you can see, but this area, for example, is pretty much finished. Maybe I will still add subdivide this and make it a little bit rounder, not sure. This was added, pretty much this subdivisions here, rounded up this area, this complete area. These are still the improved Underground 2 lights, which are better than the original ones, but I will put these in here. But as you can see, it will still take some processing, because everything has to match together. That will be, for example, a video of its own, installing the latest version of headlights into this body kit. I will be editing pretty much front bumper area, this section. Yep. Then there's also the fender part, that would be this, and this piece that will be from hood. So if I want to edit this, I will have to join together all three of them. Yep, so like this. Later on I will have to separate. So you can see the front bumper right here isn't still separated. I didn't have time, but that will be in the end separated. So I will subdivide, let's say here, here, and here. It depends. I will, when the part is installed, I will know for sure what I have to subdivide. So after this is edited, it's separated again. But yeah, that will be our next video. So on this front bumper, for example, I still have to do this piece. It's not round enough, so this will be subdivided, rounded up, and still a lot of work to do, but we'll get there. And the fender, the rear fender wasn't worked on, as you can see. It's still original. The tail light, I will probably still add a little bit of love here. Rear bumper will need some more attention. This is rounded up. If you look at it like from this area, you will not really notice it, and that's also the case from the game, but yeah, you could use more love. And this, for example, you can see it's a bit weird, this area, and then if you look this, the rest, because I was performing cutting, like this part and that and the hood. This rear section was from the updated car, and this, the bottom section, and if we look at it like this, this was, and the fender, this was from the unedited Underground 1 wide body car, so this will still have to be connected accordingly, and then this sharp line, for example, will disappear, but it will take some fine-tuning. So that would be it for now. Next video will be the 3 shortcuts, and the one after it will be me trying to install the updated headlights into the wide body Civic. So thanks for watching. If you have any questions, pretty much ask me. I will also leave my Discord ID in the description if you are not on my Discord, or if you haven't added me as friends, so you can still message me if you have questions. And yeah, thanks for watching.